Hi everyone, why am I awake right now here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of this new Westside Gunn project, And Then You Pray For Me. This is a new album from prolific curator, rapper, GRIZELDA Records co-founder, Buffalo artist Westside Gunn, a man whose raw, rugged, but also artsy approach to hip-hop we have covered on this channel numerous times before. It's been a while since he's dropped a new LP, at least a while for him, as it's been about a year since he came out with his last major project. That would be 10, the final installment of his Hitler Wears Hermes mixtape series. And while a year is not a long time, we're talking about a man who historically has dropped 2 to 3 projects a year minimum. But maybe slowing things down for Westside Gunn isn't necessarily a bad thing, as often when he drops multiple projects in a year's time, one kind of dwarfs the others. So enter And Then You Pray For Me, which isn't just a new album, but also a sequel to his 2020 record Pray For Me, which is not a personal favorite of mine, but it has been seen as a highlight by the GRIZELDA fans over the years, that's for sure. So calling back to it certainly makes sense, even if it's just a name, but that's the thing, it's not just a name. As once again on this project, Westside is trying to pull inspiration from a Paris fashion event. In 2020, it was the late Virgil Abloh's Off-White fashion show. And this time around, as Westside said in a recent interview with me, the inspiration was literally Paris Fashion Week itself. And this record sounds like he orchestrated a bunch of recording sessions around this time that were very fruitful, but also chaotic, as And Then You Pray For Me is almost 2 times longer than Pray For Paris, features a much larger array of guests, and also has a lot of left hooks production-wise too. The result is an album that is unruly, is difficult to define. However, this is not the first time Westside has used the chaos of a tracklist flow to his advantage. My mind goes to Hitler Wears Hermes 8, Side B, which in many ways felt like a dirty lo-fi boom-bap mixtape. And again, And Then You Pray For Me feels like a tape of sorts as well, hitting listeners with so many different sounds in quick succession. And on top of it, there are numerous appearances on this thing from trap mixtape legends, be it DJ Drama, Trapaholics, DJ Holiday. There are even Jeezy and Rick Ross appearances on this project that make a nod in that direction too. And this has led to some concern behind this project that Westside Gunn is changing his sound, he's dropping the boom bap stuff, when he's actually doing a pretty good job of making this sound fit within his grimy rubric. He's actually reviving a similar sort of ruggedness to trap music from the 2000s and the early 2010s, right down to the roughly mixed synths and vocal drops of real trap shit on JD Wrist. So when it comes to picking the right guests and capturing a vibe, I think Westside Gunn does a pretty great job on this record. But it's in the finer details where some parts of this LP kind of fall apart, because there are weak moments and non-starters that I think would have been cut out of a record that underwent a couple of drafts, like with 1989, whose down-pitched verse from Westside is super obnoxious, sounds cartoonishly deep, it's awkward. Then there's Dunhill featuring Rick Ross, which is a hard-hitting cut with a great feature from him, some epic layered-up horns too, but for whatever reason, there is this whisper quiet appearance from SD Knack that throws the whole momentum of the song off. And to go back to JD Wrist, this is one of a few tracks on this thing that kind of overstays its welcome, especially this one. It does not need to be 6 minutes. The song Disgusting had a potentially exciting crossover with UK rapper Giggs, but his performance is pretty low impact, not to mention I think the trap beat here doesn't really play to his strengths too. LL Bullgun, the only redeeming thing about this track is the title is funny. It's one of the shortest, most lazy, and most unmemorable tracks here. And while I know being more of a curator means we're going to hear moments where Westside kind of ducks out and lets a guest take over, I think it was a mistake to hand the entirety of the closing title track over to Casey, who doesn't do too bad between rapping and auto-crooning a bit, but there's not really much lyrically and aesthetically about this final moment that feels connected to anything else going on with the album. All that being said though, again, there are a lot of tracks on this LP, and I think a majority of them are pretty good. Whether Westside is delivering that type of grimy, multiverse diverse boom bap that Grizelda fans are used to, with Mama's PRIMETIME, which not just has Westside and Benny and Conway the Machine, but JID is in the mix too, and brings the most lyrical and detailed guest verse on the entire LP. The Grizelda boys do really well over KOSTAS, which has a killer trap beat on it. Conway is especially a standout here, as he sounds lyrical and unhinged, boasting that he's rapping post-surgery with the anesthetic not even being fully worn off. There are other great boom bap cuts that are in that classic Grizelda style deeper on the LP, whether that be Suicide and Selfridges or the Revenge of Flip's Leg. But it's the tracks that deviate from this formula that kind of stuck with me the most after having listened to this thing. Be that the Elegant Kitchen Lights, which is one of those trademark Westside drumless cuts where he can be heard poetically rapping about trauma, a tough upbringing, dealing drugs too. Meanwhile, Stove God Cooks brings a great sung chorus, and I feel like his singing and his vocal lines are getting better with each record. I mean, they may be caked in soot and sound like he smokes a pack a day, but the guy's got pipes. Chloe featuring Ty Dolla $ign is an honest-to-God attempt at a smoky, slow sex jam, and I think it works, especially considering that Westside finds his own way to go about it. His take on this sound and this style is definitely twisted, a little deranged, especially considering refrains like "trying to kill you." Yeah, that doesn't usually turn up in this sort of track. But yeah, it kind of works, even if, again, it's weirdly toxic at points. There are some other strong moments on this thing that are most definitely enhanced by the features on the track. Be that Ultra Grizelda featuring Denzel Curry, Boldy James kills it on Jalen Rose, and Mr. Everything contains that Jeezy feature I mentioned earlier. He's sounding as solid as ever over one of the most chaotic trap beats on the entire project. This record is all over the place, it is unkempt, it is a crazy and somewhat explosive mess at times, but it's still a super fun dirt cake project where Westside steps up his rapping a bit, his versatility. He makes some great production choices much of the time, even if they are what a lot of fans weren't expecting. I just think at the end of the day, he could have cut some of the bloat, some of the redundancies, maybe brought on a few more guests to break up the Stove God appearances. And even if I do like this thing, maybe it'll be good going forward for Westside to come out with more projects, maybe some shorter and hopefully more focused records. Yeah, and Then You Pray For Me does not have the level of cohesion I really would have wanted. But, you know, even a wild fly god is still fly and a god. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7. On this one, transition. Have you given this record a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Westside Gunn, forever.